This is On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. A weekly recap of your Philadelphia Flyers from blue line to blue line. Broadcasting live from Chickies and Pete's, tonight's show is brought to you by Han & Stone Spa, Pat Dion Beverages, The Capitol Grill, Chickies and Pete's, Payroll Service Solutions, and Independence Blue Cross. We now go live to Chickies and Pete's for On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Now, here are your hosts, former Flyer Brad Marsh and Paul Jolovitz.
Yes, I can.
Always a comedian.
Pardon?
Always a comedian.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take
All
care
righty,
of the
welcome
people.
everybody to On the Ice. This is our season premiere, the 24-25 season. We go at it again. We're here at the beautiful Chickies and Pete's in Audubon, Pennsylvania, on a gorgeous day that doesn't really scream hockey, it screams baseball, which is why we're here at 4 o'clock today. This is presented by Independence Blue Cross from Chickies and Pete's in Audubon, PA. My co-host tonight, and for a majority of the season, is always really a wonderful guy back for many, many, many years. Mr. Brad Marsh, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Jolly?
I'm doing very, very well. And we have a guest that's came in on short notice. Jim Watson, who was supposed to be the guest, has something come up. He'll be here next week. So sitting in, a man from the suburban Philadelphia area who didn't have very far to go, didn't have very far to go to watch the Phillies afterwards, Mr. Edward Hospodar. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Very good.
Good, guys. Thanks very much. Hockey's back. Obviously, this day doesn't scream hockey, but the NHL season's upon us. Where do we start? The Flyers last year started strong, finished not so strong, missed the playoffs. Matvei Michkov came over from Russia. A lot of people thought it would take 3 years. I didn't. He came this year. Jet Luchenko, the 13th pick in the draft, made the team. Brad, in juniors, you can play, or in the NHL, a rookie, a young kid can play 9 games and go back to juniors, which is a wonderful thing. You give them a test, but they wouldn't even do this. We'll get to Michkov in a minute, but they wouldn't even do this with Luchenko unless they thought he was mature enough to handle possible failure, correct?
100%. And, no one expected him to make the team out of training camp. No one expected him to dominate during training camp. But from what I hear, and I wasn't at camp, I saw the exhibition games, but he shone, he did whatever he had to do. You know, at the old, like when you go to a training camp, you go, like, first you tell young kids, do something to make yourself noticed. Just don't blend in. And he did stuff to make himself noticed right from the get-go, from what I understand. So, hey, good for him.
Eddie, we were on the phone yesterday. I asked you how old you were when you came into the NHL. Brad was a first-round pick. Well, I asked him in a second. You said you were 20 years old and you played your first NHL game. Mm-hmm. Were you ready? I mean, physically, obviously, you had to be ready. Were you mentally ready to go against the best in the world at that point?
I'd probably say no, but not to say that's for me. Brad, on the other side, was probably prepared to go. You know, me, bigger, faster, stronger, you're still immature. But I think throughout my career, Brad was better every day, every game player, and fit right in right away on that stuff.
All right, 2 questions then for you, Brad. Obviously, I want to know how old you were, first round pick and everything, but what's it like when you're the best player at every level as a kid? You shine, you're a star, you're the stud, whatever, and now you get to a league where obviously you're not going to be the best player. How hard an adjustment is that? Because everybody, unless your last name is Gretzky or Lemieux, you're going to have to go through that, right?
Well, the thing is, when Eddie and I played and played our first game, we were 20 years old, as Ed said, and there's a big difference between 20 years old and 18 years old. In Luchenko's case, like, he's
18 and 51 days.
Yeah, so he's still 17. That 2 years makes a huge difference in your maturation process, and you are a little more stronger, you're a little more developed, and psychologically or mentally, you are that much more stronger because you've played junior or college at a higher level for a longer period of time. And so we were young men, we weren't young adults, and there's a big difference in that, I think. And then what year was I forget, Ed? 1980, the draft went back to
79, 80 went back to underage or mature guys with the young. But then that's the Gretzky rule. Like In 1979,
I think it was Kenny Linsman that challenged it. Gretzky went to WHA. Wasn't it Kenny Linsman that challenged the
I think so, yeah.
whatever.
But Wayne, when he came down, then got the personal service contract with
Nelson Scalbania.
in Indianapolis.
Yep.
But he busted that rule. But everybody's saying he can't do it. He can't do it. I remember going to New York with Phil Esposito and Duguay and Carol Vadnais, all very well. That's the WHA. This kid Gretzky's no good or whatever. Like, you couldn't find him, couldn't catch him, couldn't do it. So not to say that
bullseye, right?
that you couldn't. There are special anomalies, call them, or just those. There's one of a kind.
Players,
that come along.
But they said that about Wayne. Oh, he scored all those goals in novice. Wait till they start body contact. Well, then he still scored. Oh, wait till he gets to the OHL. Well, we played against him when he was 16 in the OHL. He won the scoring race.
Wait, I played against him when I was a Pee-wee age in the Quebec Pee-wee Carnival, and we played at 7:30, and he had 7:30 in the morning, and he probably had
You had a
6
game at
o'clock.
7:30 in the morning?
Well, the youth hockey tournament, but it's in the Quebec Coliseum, and his team, he played up. His team was playing at 6 o'clock in the morning, and the building, I swear, was like 9,000, 10,000 people in the building. If they heard that there was a phenom or whatever, the Quebec City people show up and would fill a building to watch.
He won the scoring title in the NHL as a rookie. Marcel Dion and him tied. He scored more goals.
He pushed Bobby Smith, a senior, a graduating
Who's
junior
twice his
hockey
size.
player, in his rookie year. When Gretzky was in the Sioux, Bobby Smith was #1 overall pick to the Minnesota North Stars.
Yep.
And yet Gretzky took him to the limit, and then they ended up having Gretzky against Bobby Smith shootouts as part of this, like a intermission. Come watch Wayne Gretzky against Bobby Smith do a shootout with their goalies to try to make extra money. Yes, in Ottawa we had to skate around the rink.
Fastest skater. Of course, I was never in that race, but it was just part of the intermission. The fact one guy from the visiting team and then one guy from the home team, and at the end of the year, whoever had the fastest clock time, they won a TV.
Wow.
Stevie Stockman always used to win it from the London Knights.
Maringer.
Steve Maringer.
Unless you're our age.
Sorry, we're getting a little off topic here, but that's
Carrying
what
the
happens.
TV. Yeah, the TV
It was
would be-
great. It was selling tickets, like a little bit of Barnum and Bailey in that.
Yeah.
Well, it's Barnum and Bailey. I mean, it's entertainment. The Flyers want to have a gate this year. People come excited to see. They refurbish the arena and everything. We'll get to a lot of other things tonight, but I want to stay on this for a second. Brad, fill in this blank. The toughest thing for me, Brad Marsh, to get used to in the NHL was what? Was it on the ice, off the ice, a particular part of the game? What took you the longest to dial in?
Well, I think for me, looking back, I was drafted by the Atlanta Flames, and they had a very good team. They never won a round of playoffs while they were in Atlanta, but they also had a reputation of being a little bit of a party team. So the eye-opener for me was going down and, like, well, Ed, you would have experienced this, the number of guys that smoked between periods and so on. But it was the lifestyle that I now was adapting into. Was we practiced at 9 o'clock back then, 9:30 or whatever. The whole team went out for lunch, and sometimes there were more liquid lunches than a
Absolutely.
bowl
Even on a
of
game
pasta. Yeah, no, not on a game night.
Okay.
And so it was a dust for me. Once again, looking back then, I thought it was the thing to do. But looking back, that was the big thing to start off my career that I had to adjust to, was the lifestyle. And as I said a couple times, looking back, it was the wrong decision for me to make. But at the time, it was the right decision, and it was a heck of a lot of fun. Yeah.
You had an interesting upbringing, Eddie. I mean, I've read it many times, and I kind of know this, but Canada's the origin of hockey. Americans were trickling in when you kids were young, but you kind of were both. Tell us about your upbringing and how you got into hockey and where you consider yourself
First of
from.
all, the odd thing that people confuse is I was born in Bowling Green, Ohio.
Yeah.
So my dad was there. It was much like Camden, New Jersey, or in Napoleon, Nebraska was a new plant they were building. But across the river, you can't live in the. My dad was an executive, so he was told not to live in the town of Napoleon. Go across the river into Ohio and up the road 10 miles into Bowling Green, and that's where you should live. Otherwise, you'll be amongst the company workers and all that stuff.
So how do you get into hockey in
So
Bowling
then I
Green, Ohio?
get he's financial department. He gets transferred up to Canada to straighten out finances for a plant that they had up in Toronto. The company was non-union, but what they did do is they had a hockey camp where guys who worked inside the plant would be teachers. And if you worked there, employed there, you could go to their hockey camps. They had, 6 to 9 and 10 to 14 or 15. But then afterwards, they had 3 ice slots, and they'd have 6 teams from the plant. Guys that worked in the plant, they'd make up 6 teams, and they'd be called the Pepperidge Farms, Swanson America, Swanson Dinners, Godiva Chocolates,
Good stuff.
The Supers, the Campbell Soup Guns, so all their product lines that they had. The Vaslick Pickles they'd have those uniforms according to company product, and just have a round-robin league amongst themselves. So
you learned hockey stuffing your face, and you learned hockey drinking, huh? Interesting.
No, we were just. But at that time, when that's what you did. Every town, whether we're in Audubon, would have their own rink. Wayne, Pennsylvania, every city had their own, and they just played little intramural leagues against each other.
When did you know you were good enough to maybe look at hockey as a career?
I think when I was like 15, when you were drafted into the OHL, you were allowed to take a 15-year-old in the first 2 rounds. Mike Gartner got drafted, and I got drafted, but I didn't go to Hap Ems in St. Catharines. I stayed back to play another year junior. So at 15, like 15 years old, I got called. I got drafted in the 2nd round, but I didn't go.
Well, youth is a benchmark of the Flyers this year. 13 players, I think, Brad, under 25. Tortorella trying to get to the playoffs this year, trying to develop young kids. Travis Konechny's kind of in his prime, 27. But Flyers had a couple kids last year. Obviously, Michkov and Luchenko, and a couple of the goaltenders, Sam Urson taking over from Carter Hart, and a lot of goalies in the system. But Tyson Forster, Owen Tippett, they got a couple kids who are young and developing and already pretty darn good, don't they?
Yeah, we have a real good roster. We're still in the middle of the rebuild. It started last year. It was very successful last year. And but the questions for me going in is we had a number of guys that had a career year. Sanheim, breakout year last year.
Cam York.
Cam York and Konechny had a wonderful year. What are they going to do? Are they going to build on that breakout year, or are they going to stay put, or are they going to have a step back?
And then Drysdale, the young defenseman.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to him being healthy all year. And so we're going to be young. We're going to be exciting. But I'm looking to see who really does step up to build on last year. The rookies are going to be the youngster. Luchenko, he's going to get what he's given. I don't know how much ice time they'll give him out of the gate, and same with Michkov and so on. They're going to have solid rookie years, hopefully. But I'm really looking at Sanheim. Is he going to take the step up into the next rung of defensemen, and how they're rated throughout the NHL?
You know what's really important too, Brad, from my life? There's been guys on the team that have been there 3-4 years and we haven't been in the playoffs. Nope. And for talking about our rookie season, flashing back to you in Atlanta, myself in New York, we had just gone to the Stanley Cup Finals, and the Rangers were good about wanting to say, not just quit. And when we're in Hartford, we were never in the playoffs, so the season was over. Some of the senior guys felt like, hey, good, I can go golfing now. I'm off. I'm on a big ticket. Didn't want any desire. It's really important. The Rangers wanted to win. That group wanted to win a cup and wanted to compete, and they were taken down then by Bossy, Trottier, the Islanders at that time after making it to the Cup. So that's really important for these young guys to know whether they're the leaders that show them the way to the Cup or into the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's important to have.
Interesting stuff, and then the Flyers have those young kids, as Eddie said. You got to develop habits, got to develop leadership. Coots, the captain, Scotty Lawton, Travis Konechny, the assistants. The foundation's been led by Tortorella, but the kid that's got everybody excited this year is named Matvei Michkov. He's 19 years old. We'll talk about him when we come back. You're listening to On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross, live from Chickies and Pete's right here on 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM, and seen live on YouTube at WBCB Sports. We are back with our first show of the year right after this. Stay with us.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take care of the people who take care of you. Everyday heroes like firefighters, police officers, teachers, farmers, and healthcare workers. Doctors and hospitals across the region have IBX, and they know what it means to have reliable access to care. So whether you're saving lives or just trying to live a healthier life, count on IBX, the region's #1 health insurer for 85 years. Learn more at IBX.com.
Hi, it's Pete from Chickie and Pete's. The summer of shellfish is back with all your favorites, including our sensational seafood boil, sticky lobster tails, chilled crab tacos, seasonal herb mussels, seafood pasta, and more. Full menu at chickiesandpete's.com. Plus, don't miss our incredible buy one, get one snow crab legs every Tuesday and Wednesday. It's summer of shellfish only at Chickies and Pete's.
Payroll Service Solutions was established in 2001 to cater to the payroll needs of small to medium-sized businesses. Payroll Service Solutions offers unparalleled customer service while they deliver a complete and accurate payroll. When calling Payroll Service Solutions, you will never be put into a voicemail or go through a series of prompts to get to a person. All customer service representatives are extensively trained to handle all of your payroll needs, therefore saving you time. They value each and every one of their clients. No account is too small. Call Payroll Service Solutions today at 1-866-PAY-EASY for a no-obligation review of your payroll needs. That number again is 1-866-PAYEASY. Payroll Service Solutions.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Jolovitz and former Flyer Brad Marsh.
We haven't changed them.
All righty, we are back here at Chickies and Pete's in beautiful Audubon, Pennsylvania. We'll be all over the place this year. Audubon, Malvern, Drexel Hill. Next week we're in Warrington with Jim Watson. This is On the Ice. We were with Brad Marsh and our guest Eddie Hospodar. It's time now for the Independence Blue Cross Live Fearless Player of the Week. We haven't had a week yet. We've had training camp, but Matvei Michkov came here from Russia. Got to be fearless to go into a new country, new language, new setting, new everything. And with the expectations he has, Matvei Michkov is our first Fearless Player of the Week. Remember to choose Independence Blue Cross today and begin to live fearless. And guys, he was drafted 7th last year, probably was going higher if everybody knew he was coming. Danny Briere and Keith Jones took a shot, and they got that shot, and they bought him out, whatever the financial transaction was, and Philly's all excited, a left wing. One quick question first. I'd like to kind of ask the offbeat question, Brad. Gretzky, 99, Lemieux, obviously, 66, Eric, 88. 39 doesn't seem like a very sexy number. Why 39? Do you have any idea?
Well, hopefully he makes it a sexy number.
Any thoughts on that, Eddie?
What's original?
It is original. Yeah.
Was there a reason that he picked that?
I have no idea.
I didn't read anything. I didn't hear anything.
Maybe he was a Jack Benny fan. Jack Benny was always 39. I have no doubt it because he came from Russia. But he's a left wing. Tortorella's going to use him on lines with Morgan Frost and Coots and a bunch of people. Speedy guy. He can do everything, Brad, in the corners. He's puck competitive. He can shoot. He can be one of the best players in the NHL. What's the quickest way for him to get there, and what should Flyer fans think and maybe temper their expectations watching this 19-year-old?
Well, the Flyer fans are excited
Yep.
To have him here. They're excited over the year we had last year, even though we stubbed our toe a little bit down the stretch for various reasons. But
8 weeks, 6 weeks were bad.
But they are very, very excited about the team. And then when they announced that he was coming, holy moly, everybody was excited. And so, exhibition is exhibition. But the home, we had the 3 home games, and he scored. Everything's good.
Is he the best prospect since Lindros to be here? It seems like he is.
Oh, I don't know about that. There's been a lot of people pretty excited about the Luchenko kid. So, I mean...
Not as excited as Michkov.
Well, there's a lot of build-up over Michkov. And I don't know, the excitement... I don't know. There was a lot of excitement when we had the 2nd pick overall, but that was a bust. And... what was
talking with Nolan Patrick?
Yes.
That was only 8 years ago, and already we'd forget. Yeah. He's out of hockey now.
So, anyhow, the fans are very excited. I want to see. I know he scored in the exhibition a number of goals. I want to see him score right away, and to get the monkey off his back, because you don't want the headline. When's Michkov going to score? I want to see him contribute offensively right away, and. I want to see a little bit of Dipsy Doodle out there from. I want to see him. Like, it's been a long time since we've had a player that gets this.
I was going to bring that up. I agree.
He got a standing
I think
ovation.
it's a long time since the Legion of Doom line was the big could get you out of your seat.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes I get disappointed. They got this Austin Matthews. They've got this guy. I want to go and watch an Iverson or a true superstar like C. Harper come up to bat in the Phillies.
Yeah.
I want that guy on the Flyers or multiple guys on the Flyers that we can brag about the whole squad there.
Yeah.
Showtime.
Yeah. And,
the greatest show on Trivia, you get nicknames, Brad. The Legion of Doom, you get nicknames if you're fan favorite. People pay to come to these games, 82 regular season games. Matvei Michkov, he got a standing ovation. I don't remember ever seeing this, an empty net goal in an exhibition game, but it was his first, and whatever the first was, he got the standing O, and that shows you how badly the fans are dying to find a guy to latch themselves onto. You think, Eddie, you played on a lot of lines, you played defense. We always hear about lines. What line will they put him on? I always say he's going to be on 88 different lines with every combination, everybody in the world. Brad played, obviously, with one defense partner most of his career, with the Flyers, Brad McCrimmon. When you're a hockey player, you have to be ready to play with anybody at any time, don't you?
I would hope so. If you're me, yes.
if you're Michkov?
Brad had steady guys, Dougie Crossman, or the big four, the Brad and Howe,
Doug Crossman, not Brad McCrimmon.
Yeah, but all good.
But the sports, the hockey's got away from that. There used to be the Pool and Prop and Kerr and the Legion of Doom and blah, blah, blah.
And Howe, McCrimmon, and Ewan Crossman.
But they've got away from it, and I don't know why. It seems like if a line combination doesn't work or click immediately, the second period they're broken up and they're trying another. And I think that's the coaches, that's the video coaches that they have, and they're always trying to push the buttons, find the right combination and all that kind of stuff. And I like when it's a line out there and you can put that line and you can trust that line, and you know that you need a goal. You know the 3 players you're going to put out there, not 3 individual players that you're hoping get a goal.
Yeah, Pool and Prop and Kerr, and then you go to Ronnie Sutter, so-and-so, and El Castinicella, they're all pretty fixed. They knew what they were going to do. You can almost, sometimes by being a teammate of theirs, say, this is where he comes down and he's going to swerve this way and give it over there. They did it again.
And with the Lions, guys, there's something that's coming back, I think, in my opinion, a little bit in the NHL, and Mr. Hospodar would be a prime proponent to ask this to, and that's the bodyguard. Obviously, Michkov, people are going to try to take liberties. Not the biggest kid in the world. He's probably pretty strong, but you don't want him taking run after run after run. And Nick Delorier has been mentioned as a guy who may be out on the ice with him or guarding him. I think fighting is coming a little bit back to physical game with Delorier. Some teams don't have that kind of guy, but what do you see the role is? Do you ever have to protect anybody? And do you think?
I think the game's changed now, where they've spent a lot of time getting rid of that enforcer and trying to selling the speed, the talent, everything about the atmosphere in the building, and I don't think that they want to get back to that. Do they like the hard hitting, the big checking, and all that? Are they better now about protecting players with getting cheap shots back of from behind into the boards, headshots, all that? Yes.
But if somebody's running Michkov one night,
somebody's going to have to step in. But I don't think that full-time fighter like they had in the Rangers come on, that he's ever going to say. I saw. Yes, he had all these fights in New York, but I said he'll never even get to a vested player. Well, he'll never become. He's just going to be used right now, abused. But guess what? Right now, he's picking up a big check.
And Rempe with New York, I gave that example. What do you think, Brad? I mean, if some other team has a bunch of big guys, Flyers aren't the biggest team in the world, and they're running Michkov one after the other. Is there a role for a guy like Delorier that could grow a little, or with somebody else maybe?
Well, I don't think you can, in today's game, I don't think you can put it on, okay, player, you go protect this guy. When you are protecting one of your assets, it's got to be a team initiative out there. And if someone's running him, then the other four guys on the ice, boom, they're on him like a dog on a bone type of thing. And it's got to be a team thing. Okay, not only are we going to protect this guy, but we're standing up for ourselves, and it's not going to be easy to play against us, because if you take liberties on one guy, you're going to have to go through all of us while we're out on the ice. But to have one guy who's going to be the protector, he's sitting on the bench for three-quarters of the game. How is he going to protect from there? The one thing about Delorier is he works his butt off, and he makes a difference. So he's going to get ice time regardless of what his role is in protecting Michkov or Lechenko for that.
Those were the guys that I really, really, really admired. The Terry O'Reilly that could play every shift. Al Secord score 50 goals and then give it back. The Clark Gillies,
Rick Tocchet.
Rick Tocchet. Those are the.
Lindros was his own bodyguard a lot of the time. He was pretty tough. I mean,
yeah, he was tough. We're talking about a player that didn't necessarily have the resume that Lindros did.
Yeah, I think
like Terry O'Reilly.
But these are all good players.
Terry O'Reilly, he worked his butt off. Yep. He led the Bruins in scoring for 2 years, which people forget.
Yeah.
And
Al Secord would score 50 with Denny Savard, and then still have 200 minutes in penalties.
Cam Neely fit that mold at all, do you?
Cam Neely's a great name. Yeah. Fabulous.
And, well, you even put Dave Brown in that mix. Brownie made himself a good player. He wasn't a goal scorer like Al Secord was, but Brownie never hurt you on the ice.
You know who? Our good friend Chief. That he made himself into a hockey player.
Yeah.
He really did by work ethic and all.
Speaking of making himself into a hockey player, this guy's never going to be a goon. He's never going to be a bodyguard. But he is a guy, we hear the term Swiss Army knife guys now in sports. Somebody who can do a little bit of everything. And every team needs to have somebody, a coach can use this guy. In this situation, he was great on the PK last year. Obviously, the power play has to be improved this year with Michkov, with Luchenko. But Scotty Lawton was the assistant last year for most of the year. No C, now Coots has that. But Scotty Lawton's a guy, everybody said he's going to be gone every year. He comes back like the Energizer Bunny and can do a little bit of everything, Brad. How important to this team as the quote-unquote glue is Scotty Lawton?
He's vastly important, and I think if you look at I think there's a baseball team in town that needs to have a Scotty Lawton to get the dressing room, get the dressing room going. And every team has that player or a couple players that I don't want to say fly under the radar because we all know what Scotty can do, but is the unsung hero type of thing. And is he available for a trade? Yeah, maybe we can get rid of, but every team wants somebody like him. At the end of the day, I guess the asking price wasn't right for Scotty, but Scotty's a big part of this rebuild and the success of the Flyers. And we, as ex-players, got a lot of time for the Scotty Laughtons of the world.
And it's important for. He's an older player now, for
30.
sure, right? But still want to play, want to win, want to be the good example instead of just riding it out. Like, you can't get rid of me. We had players that had 50 goals and didn't care about, in Hartford, they were just, hey, when does March 15th come or whatever the last game is? And they already had plans made, you know. It was terrible. But there's nothing you could do.
Glue guys, stars, all of them kick in Friday night, my birthday, by the way, in Vancouver as the Flyers open up their season. By the way, they also open up their home schedule with Vancouver after a 4-game Western trip on Saturday the 19th. Vancouver is coached by a former Flyer that Mr. Marsh mentioned, Mr. Richard Tocchet. We'll talk about him and other ex-Flyers coaching a team that's under a slight bit of pressure in Toronto. They haven't won the Stanley Cup since 1831. That is Craig Berube. We'll talk about ex-Flyers around the NFL with Brad Marsh, with at Hospodar, at Chickies and Pete's in Audubon. We are back right after this. Having a great time. Stay with us.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take care of the people who take care of you. Everyday heroes like firefighters, police officers, teachers, farmers, and healthcare workers. Doctors and hospitals across the region have IBX, and they know what it means to have reliable access to care. So whether you're saving lives or just trying to live a healthier life, count on IBX, the region's #1 health insurer for 85 years. Learn more at IBX.com.
Hi, it's Pete from Chickie and Pete's. The summer of shellfish is back with all your favorites, including our sensational seafood boil, sticky lobster tails, chilled crab tacos, seasonal herb mussels, seafood pasta, and more. Full menu at chickiesandpete's.com. Plus, don't miss our incredible buy one, get one snow crab legs every Tuesday and Wednesday. It's Summer of Shellfish only at Chickies and Pete's.
Payroll Service Solutions was established in 2001 to cater to the payroll needs of small to medium-sized businesses. Payroll Service Solutions offers unparalleled customer service while they deliver a complete and accurate payroll. When calling Payroll Service Solutions, you will never be put into a voicemail or go through a series of prompts to get to a person. All customer service representatives are extensively trained to handle all of your payroll needs, therefore saving you time. They value each and every one of their clients. No account is too small. Call Payroll Service Solutions today at 1-866-PAY-EASY for a no-obligation review of your payroll needs. That number again is 1-866-PAYEASY. Payroll Service Solutions.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Jolovitz and former Flyer Brad Marsh.
Everybody good?
Yes,
Yep.
I'm fine.
Thank you so much. Alrighty, back here with the Independence Blue Cross on the ice from Chickies and Pete's in Audubon, Pennsylvania. A couple more segments to go, then the Phillies try to save their season in New York. We'll be back next week and every other week at 6 o'clock. We'll be in Warrington next week. Drexel Hill the week after that. We'll keep you up to date. It's time now for the Smart Stat of the Week, brought to you by Payroll Service Solutions. Call them today at 1-866-PAY-EASY. That's 1-866-PAY-EASY. Flyers first round draft pick, 13th in the 2024 NHL Draft. Center Jet Luchenko, 17 years old at the draft, will be the youngest Flyer ever to play in an NHL game when he takes the ice on Friday night in Vancouver at 18 years and 51 days. That was your Flyer Smart Stat of the Week. We'll have real stats starting next week. Once again, brought to you by Payroll Service Solutions. Call them today at 1-866-PAY-EASY for the smart choice in payroll services. Payroll Service Solutions, catering to the small and medium-sized business to handle all of your payroll needs. Call them once again at 1-866-PAY-EASY. Eddie, Flyers go to Vancouver, 4-game Western trip. Rick Tocchet said he was going to try to get back in the NHL and take the right job. It looks like he did take the right job. Last year improved the Vancouver team a million miles. I thought could have been Coach of the Year. Was he Coach of the Year?
He was a finalist.
He was a finalist.
I don't think he won. I don't know who won.
I don't think he actually won. Torch was the finalist too. But he's done a great job, and former Flyer, 440 goals, not in the Hall of Fame. A, should Rick Tocchet be in the Hall of Fame? And B, what do you think of him as a coach?
Oh, wow. In the Hall of Fame. I've never thought about that. I know here, as on this team, personally, yes, in the Flyers, but I'd have to take a look at that number and didn't think about it. He's just like
Hell of a great stats, great player, great.
You know,
he does win the Jack Adams, which I should know. I apologize for forgetting that.
It's your
especially
show.
With Talk. It's my buddy too, Rick Talk. Brad, he picked the right opportunity. Is that a Stanley Cup contender out there?
I think that's one of those teams that they underachieved for so long, and then they had a great season last year. And I think a lot of the hockey people, or the hockey experts, and I'm certainly not one of them because I'm in bed by the time those games come on, for heaven's sake. But I think there's a lot of question marks with the Vancouver Canucks. What team are they going to be? Are they going to be the team that underachieved or the team that overachieves or somewhere in the middle? So a lot of question marks with that team, I think.
And Eddie, back to you. Rick Tockett's best friend in the world. They say they're best friends. I got to take it at face value. Craig Berube, who we've had on this show, 17 years in the NHL, a Flyer for a bunch of them, is coaching the Toronto Maple Leafs, which in my opinion is the most pressure-packed job in sports. That city expects to win every year. They have won since '67.
right up there with Montreal.
Yeah, front of Montreal. Craig won a cup, and now he's taken over Austin Matthews and that team. Can he unlock the key up there?
I sure hope so. I love seeing guys that I played with have success when they.
Did you ever think he was going to be a coach? If I said to you, your teammate.
Craig Berube?
Yeah, he's going to be.
You know what? After how hard he worked to be a player in the NHL, and the guys, how tough he was, and then to last 17 years doing what he did, fighting Probert, all that, becoming a player, sticking one of those. Is he good? Is he that? But yeah, we need him. He's got something valuable about him that he brings to this team. A good example. A good. Both of those guys, solid leaders, solid players, work ethics. I just want great things to happen to him because they both talk it for his size or whatever, maybe undersized, but was as tough as a rock and achieved because they both just dedicated, worked so hard, and overachieved.
Brad, if somebody came into practice one day and pointed out Rick Tocchet and Craig Berube, two of your teammates, said 30 years from now, one of these guys will be a Jack Adams winner, the other guy will have a Stanley Cup ring on, both coaching the NHL, you would have said what?
I don't think we would have believed him because we were just teammates back then. We were young, especially in Tocchet age when we played with him. He was just a young puppy, for heaven's sakes. And I don't think you ever think in those terms. And I think when one retires, it's, okay, what am I going to do? Oh, you can go coach here, or you can go help out here. And then it just is another path that you go. And Ed mentioned the work ethic. And so I think there's a lot of players that if you give them this job, regardless of what it is, because of the work ethic that they had during their professional hockey career, they're going to be successful at that job in Chief. And I can't remember what their first jobs were out of hockey, what their first coaching jobs were.
Chief was here with the Flyers on the brand, but he was so rough that put a mic on him, he would just talk back to a guy he was in the locker room. Like, no,
they're going to be successful just because of the work ethic that they brought. Chief, he wins the cup in Toronto, he could be Prime Minister of Canada.
Probably could be.
Yeah.
And
I
was laughing when the St. Louis team turned around. They went to the bar in Philly and they had the song. I can't remember what the song was. And they say, that turned our team around. They played that song. Chief, when he comes down with the Leafs, they're going back to the same bar.
Brad, you're from London, Ontario. Jet Lutsenko didn't play for the London Knights, but he's from London, Ontario. Flyers have two young prospects.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oliver Bonk and Denver Barkey played
Isn't
for
Dougie
London.
Crossman from London, Ontario?
Yep.
Doug Crossman, yep. But London's a suburb of Toronto.
Explain to people who not a suburb. It's about 2 hours away, right?
Yeah.
That far away? Yeah. I thought it was an hour. Well, okay. I learned something today, too.
Nobody wants to be a suburb of Toronto.
All right, so it's not Mississauga, it's not whatever, but people here think New York, obviously Philadelphia, the pressure, the Phillies, the Eagles every year. What is it like in Toronto or around Toronto with that team? It doesn't matter if the Blue Jays win the Cup, if the Argonauts win the Grey Cup, if the Raptors win the NBA. It's all about the Leafs. What kind of pressure is that, and can people here understand that?
Well, when I left Philly, I went to Toronto, and I loved every minute of it. And people always talked about the pressure, because the pressure was just as strong and real back then in the 80s.
Sure.
And that was my team as a kid growing up, and I got all the little minor hockey pictures in my Leaf uniform and all that stuff, and so I embraced it. I loved every minute of being a Toronto Maple Leaf, and so the players that are successful there are the ones that do embrace wearing the Maple Leafs. The guys that shy away from the media, or they can't take the constant talk, or you can't even go to a grocery store or wherever because people are always on you. They don't make it there. They're the ones they ask for a trade and they get out right away. And so I loved playing there, and I take the extra pressure and turn it into a positive, because I tell you what, whoever is the team that wins there is royalty.
Yeah, they're
You
going
spent some time there, right?
Well, I grew up. I was the Toronto Maple Leafs had a youth program, the Toronto Marlies, and I was a shop C in their minor leagues at 15. Went to their midget team, went to their junior B team.
You beat up all the kids around Toronto, right?
I had to beat up the older kids in Toronto. Practice. The cool thing was that once you were in this organization for the Leafs, you got a pass for two for standing room only into the building to watch every game. You got a pair of skates. You got your sticks supplied.
Oh,
you
guys
uniforms.
were treated good.
Yeah, we're
Holy
treated
moly.
big time. And I got to practice once a week at the Garden.
All right, well, there's another kid that grew up in Toronto. A lot of kids grew up in Toronto who doesn't play for Toronto. His name is Connor McDavid. He got to Game 7 last year after being down 3-0 in the Stanley Cup Final. He knows his career and his legacy will be defined by Stanley Cups. Everybody knows the best player in the league. Not getting there yet. Meanwhile, in Toronto, playing in Toronto, is a kid named Austin Matthews, who scored 69 goals last year, Eddie, from the hockey hotbed of Phoenix, Arizona. As a player in the NHL, no matter how good you are individually, is your legacy at that level defined by Stanley Cups? How much of McDavid's, how much of Matthews, obviously Nathan McKinnon's won one already, how much of it is winning cups?
I wouldn't want to be left out of the Hall of Fame just for not winning a Stanley Cup, because I think that guys can put forth all the effort in the world and can come so close, and man, to win a cup or any champion, overcoming injuries,
growing a beard,
everything going on that goes on amongst game is so hard. I mean, Brad and I both. Well, Brad went to Game 7. I was on the team then, and lost it. And when you're thinking you're down 3-1 in the games, and battle back to take it to 7 games, and then 4 minutes left or whatever, boom, something happens, and you're so close.
And then
I think Connor's already sealed his as one of the best players
he's a Hall of Famer no matter what,
all
obviously.
time.
Yep.
But he won't be put in. So technically, he doesn't have to win a Stanley Cup. He's one of the best of all time.
Neither does Matthews.
But to be put in the same conversation as a Bobby Orr, Wayne Gretzky, and a Gordie Howe, he has to win a cup. Yeah.
how much did he show you last year when they fought back? Obviously a great final.
He's a great player.
Yeah.
One of the best of all time. One of the best of all time. But if he ever wants to be compared to Gretzky, he's got to win a cup. The same as Ovechkin. Washington finally won a cup. Ovechkin has never won anything in his life, whether it's World Juniors, the World Cup, the Olympics or not. He's never won anything in his life, and he finally won one time. He is not in anywhere close. He might break Gordie Howe's record, or I'm sorry, Wayne Gretzky's record.
Yep.
He is not in the same league as Gordie Howe or Wayne Gretzky.
And that'll be a big thing this year.
You know what's interesting too? Like I'm watching the Phillies play and the Harpers hitting and Lou Gehrig and somebody else they're comparing to, but those guys won championships, and Bryce doesn't have one.
Yep.
So
we always hear about
you know what? Yeah, or quarterbacks doesn't
Marino.
have. He just can't be that good. He doesn't have any.
It was a hell of a Stanley Cup ride last year. Connor McDavid won the Conn Smythe. In fact, the last guy to win the Conn Smythe on a losing team was Ron Hextall. Fast forward 37 years, whatever it is, Connor McDavid. This is a Flyers show on the ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. We're going to take a break, talk a little bit more about the Flyers and their season, 4-game Western road trip. On the way back, how long will John Tortorella coach the Flyers? We'll get Brad's and Eddie's opinion. We'll be back right after this final segment. Stay with us.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take care of the people who take care of you. Everyday heroes like firefighters, police officers, teachers, farmers, and healthcare workers. Doctors and hospitals across the region have IBX, and they know what it means to have reliable access to care. So whether you're saving lives or just trying to live a healthier life, count on IBX, the region's #1 health insurer for 85 years. Learn more at IBX.com.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. The summer of shellfish is back with all your favorites, including our sensational seafood boil, sticky lobster tails, chilled crab tacos, seasonal herb mussels, seafood pasta, and more. Full menu at chickiesandpete's.com. Plus, don't miss our incredible buy one, get one snow crab legs every Tuesday and Wednesday. It's summer of shellfish only at Chickies and Pete's.
Payroll Service Solutions was established in 2001 to cater to the payroll needs of small to medium-sized businesses. Payroll Service Solutions offers unparalleled customer service while they deliver a complete and accurate payroll. When calling Payroll Service Solutions, you will never be put into a voicemail or go through a series of prompts to get to a person. All customer service representatives are extensively trained to handle all of your payroll needs, therefore saving you time. They value each and every one of their clients. No account is too small. Call Payroll Service Solutions today at 1-866-PAY-EASY for a no-obligation review of your payroll needs. That number again is 1-866-PAYEASY. Payroll Service Solutions.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Jolovitz and former Flyer Brad Marsh.
Alrighty, final segment of the Independence Blue Cross On the Ice. We are happy to be here every week. We have Brad Marsh, co-host, Bernie Perron, our other co-host will be next week. At Warrington, Eddie Hospodar is our guest. We always have a good time with this. Flyers go into another season with John Tortorella as their coach. And a new goalie, not a new goalie because he played a lot last year after the upheaval. Played no more than 10 games before last year. Played a bunch. And Brad, is Sam Erson ready to go and be the guy? Because he is the guy here.
I think so. I think everybody liked what they saw in him last year. I think he was tired because he wasn't used to the workload that was forced upon him. But also the workload that it was kind of an unfair workload simply because when he started going downhill a little bit, that's when we had all the injuries. We traded, and I forget his name, at the deadline to Colorado, I think.
Walker.
And then Sealer broke his foot, and then Drysdale separated his shoulder again. So those are three top defensemen all of a sudden out of the lineup. So yes, he was tired and trying to get used to the new workload, but then all of a sudden, and no disrespect to the defenseman that stepped in for those three guys, he was seeing shots from areas that he never used to seeing because those defensemen clear the front of the net, clear the rebound and all that stuff. So I think he's gone back. He knows that he's number one, and he's going to be stronger because of, I don't want to say failure, but you know what I mean? Because of the struggle that he went through last year. He's going to be better for it this year. And to me, the big question mark is the number two goalie. Fedotov. And the snapshot we got of him, it was unfair because
he hadn't played in a month. He's coming from a new country.
I don't even want to guess what his life was like before he got here because of all the stuff we heard. He was in Russia, he was in Siberia, he was in a submarine. Like, first of all, how the hell did
submarine?
He was wasn't he in the Navy or something?
Oh, in the Russian Navy, okay.
Yeah, so I don't even know how he fits.
Isn't it nice though to know?
And he's 6'7" in a submarine.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
But going into the season, not having having two goalies and them knowing their jobs and they're capable of doing it. Sometimes played on teams where you had 3 and maybe even 4 goalies and couldn't figure out which one was going to play. Because JD was hurt, Wayne Tom was backing him up, Doug Sotart was behind him.
Who's the
Jim
best goalie
Petty.
you ever played with?
I like the 2 here, really good. Hexie and Pelly Lindbergh, yeah.
God rest Pelly's soul.
Yeah,
Yep.
so 2 here were no complaints.
Brad, was Pelly the best you ever played with, or Hexie?
Yeah, they were like, they did great things for our, like with Pelly, we were a young team, that first team year of Keenan, 84, 85. No one expected us to make the playoffs. And the point that I made, Pelly was so strong that year, and us being a young team, we made a lot of mistakes, but Pelly bailed us out a lot of times. And so then the mistakes become minuscule mistakes, and we learned because he was a great backstop for us.
If we left one in, it was his fault. Sorry, it was my fault.
Yeah.
Fella, you can't say that, man.
A lot of accountability. Well, it's interesting because accountability, we hear with the Phillies, people kind of passing the buck or taking accountability, the resilience of the team. Now you have a guy that came in here, and a lot of people surprised Eddie a couple years ago when John Tortorella was named the coach. He's a unique kind of guy, a lot like Mike Keenan, who coached Brad rather than you with the Flyers back in the day. He's a terrific coach. He doesn't hold anything back. I love him. With a guy like that, though, coaching a very young team like with Luchenko and Michkov, is he going to burn the candle too thin? Do you think he stays a while? Is he adapting? How do you see Tortorella?
Wow, John's had so much experience coaching that I think I believe he has a very good head on his shoulder about being a jockey and how to ride and how to get off and win. Half the battle being a great coach is just making people want to play and want to follow and want to get on the same side.
Give me somebody who coached you.
When you can find those coaches that you just like love playing for, and you want to go out and they encourage you, they teach you, they motivate you. You go through the wall for them and do everything and anything for them.
Did you like playing for Keenan, for example?
I liked some of the things Mike brought, and I didn't like some of the things that he had. Yeah, I can honestly say that But did he somehow find a way to get the best out of you? Yes. Was it the right way all the time? Maybe not.
Well, that's
and Brad had a different playing experience than others that were.
Well, the Flyers have 7 defensemen. Mike played a lot with 4, and you were one of those 4. Coaching, in my opinion, I never played in professional sports, obviously, is about a coach pushing the button that opens you up and having a relationship with you in some way, not necessarily being your friend. What do you think about Tortorella, and how is he compared to Keenan, in your opinion?
I think John, and I don't really know him, I've met him and talked to him and stuff, but I don't think he is the same coach that he was when he started in the NHL. I think he's learned, I think he's involved, he realizes it's a young person's sport now, I don't think, and I could be totally wrong, I don't think he is as tough and as gruff as his reputation right now. He's still tough, he's still demanding, he still holds the players accountable, but I don't think he's the bear that the press.
His camp was apparently brutal.
Oh, Jesus, Murphy. These guys should go to a camp we went to back in the We were on 6 hours a day, for heaven's sake.
And now they have a bunch of stick about what they cannot do. Yeah. We cannot be at the rink bar.
Yeah, but with John, to me, a mark of a coach is you won't find many players that say a bad word about John.
All right, John's coaching the team. John was hired not by Danny Briere and Keith Jones, but they have taken over the front office. Dan Hilferty, we hope to have on the show, the governor of the team. Danny Briere doing a nice job the first couple of years, whether the rebuild is still going on, whether the playoffs are a must this year. He and Jonesy, Brad, bring what to this team? They kind of took the hockey world by storm. Danny, as a young GM, is learning his way, brought Michkov here. What can we expect from Danny and Jonesy this year?
Well, you asked what they brought to the team. They brought respectability, and it started with Dan Hilferty, and he brought in Jonesy and Danny, and we brought respectability back. And I'm sorry the previous regime, and I don't necessarily mean the previous hockey regime, because Chuck Fletcher did a lot of good things here. And the previous regime ran the organization into the ground, and there was no respect. That's why the stands were lacking in Flyer fans sitting in them, and so on and so on. And whether you're in sports or business or whatever, you have to respect. The word respect is powerful, and they've brought it back. And it was simple as that. Talking to your staff, talking to people that work for the Flyers, et cetera, et cetera.
What's your point of view on Eddie and on Danny and Jonesy?
I think that they're going to be fair. They're going to be faithful, firm with the guys. The fun's back down at that building, and that's the way they handle things. I'm hoping, because geez, they don't have this long experience of, and they're already. But they can do the job. They want to do the job.
One of the best moves they did last year, and this had it been like an organization decision, when Cutter Gauthier didn't want to play here.
Yep.
Gone. Like they just took the Band-Aid off. Gone. Okay, see, to heck with you.
Are you as a hockey fan worried about, everybody's saying if Cutter Gauthier scores 98 goals.
Big deal. If he doesn't want to be here, get rid of him. He's a cancer in the dressing room. They didn't let it linger. They didn't try to work this out. Oh, you don't want to be here? You're gone. That spoke volumes, man.
Interesting.
Yeah, I agree, because when Eric was at the end of his career here, it lingered on and lingered on. It was just bad. It was just got worse. Yeah, I loved it. It was like, hey, we answered the thing. There's no more discussion. He's out of the room.
Yeah.
How big a deal is it? Well, obviously, when Cutter Gauthier was traded, Jamie Drysdale, the key to that deal. How good is Jamie Drysdale's been injury prone? Ton of potential. 22 years old on the back end. Tortorella believes in the team built from the goalie to the defense and out. How good does Jamie Drysdale have to be, both to put deodorant on that trade and just for the Flyers as a whole, Brad?
You know what? I don't think at the end of the day, I don't think it matters. The guy did not want to be here, and so instead of pity, I think it spoke volumes in the dressing room. Holy shit, did you see what the organization just did? We better shape up here too. If you don't want to be, I just think it was a tremendous move, and it spoke volumes, and every lawyer, every agent took notice. Holy geez, we better not mess around with them in negotiation.
All right, we got to wind up here, guys. We appreciate Eddie so much, and Brad be here the whole year. Let's have a little predictions. I think the Flyers are going to make the playoffs this year. I think they're going to be a good team. May start a little bit slowly, bringing a bunch of new pieces together. Obviously, injuries are a factor and many other things. I think the Stanley Cup playoffs return to the Wells Fargo Center. Obviously, no idea how far they go. That's way off. Do the Flyers make the playoffs? How far do they get? Or what's your goal for them this year, Eddie?
I thought they were going to make it last year, so I'm not getting off the wagon. I love going down there, watching the games, and I'm a Philly fan. I want to make the playoffs. I want to be back, and I really do, because, again, I just feel it's so important for them to start getting playoff experience.
It is, and they're young, and the speed, Brad, it should be fun for the fans. Are they going to translate that in the Lord Stanley playoff appearance this year?
Well, this is the first game of the year. We really have nothing to base it on, so yes, we'll
there
be
we
back
are.
in the
That's right.
Optimism rules the day. That's a great thing about sports. Spring training, training camp, everybody's good until they're not.
That's it. Give them a game.
Yeah.
Give them a game. You'll have an opinion after day
Every
one.
radio show is predicting the same thing now for their team.
That's exactly right.
No,
The
that's
Flyers open it up in Vancouver on Friday night against Rick Taka's Canucks, 4-game road trip, then back to face Rick Taka's Canucks October 19th. We'll be here along the whole way. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. A lot of people to thank tonight. Brianne O'Neill did a great job producing. Stephen Lawler back at the station as well. It is a pleasure to be joined by Brad Marsh for another year. Thank you so much, Brad. Looking forward to it. Thank you, and Mr. Ed Hospodar. We love having you as a guest. Maybe we will later this season. You give a lot to the Philly hockey community. Any last words? Anything to promo?
No, nothing. Absolutely not. Just
Just
look over.
hockey.
Go Phils.
Go Phils, that's
Go
right.
Phils, man. Come on.
We're all Philadelphians. We're all hoping for the Phillies. We're all hoping for the Flyers. This has been the Independence Blue Cross on the ice. From Chickies and Pete's in Audubon, go Phillies, go Flyers. Have a great year, everybody. We'll be with you next week. Take care.